This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Your Playbook with Jay Mathis features real conversations about the ever-changing playbook of high achievers in any industry or role. Join me and my guests for unscripted, real-world conversations about what's worked, what hasn't, what they've had to unlearn, and how they adapt when conditions shift. These are candid discussions about pressure, resilience, and the discipline required to stay sharp when the game changes. Honest dialogue, real experience, practical insight you can apply immediately. Well, welcome to Your Playbook. My name is Jay Mathis, and I'm really excited to be here with someone I've known for many, many years, but not very well. But we've kind of reconnected, talking about business, talking about some of our mutual family friends. This is Susie Thompson. Susie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. If I try to do your bio really justice, I won't do it as well. So I'll say what I know, and then tell us a little more about yourself, family, business, that kind of thing. So Susie is up in Dallas with Allie Beth real estate company, senior VP, I think, in that company, and just doing a great job. So tell us a little more about kind of your work history and kind of how you end up doing what you're doing.
So I grew up in Fort Worth, and I ended up graduating from TCU. And my first job was in Dallas as an ESL teacher for Dallas ISD. Okay. So I taught inner city kids, and I did that from 2000 to 2006. And then when I stopped teaching, I met my husband, and before I stopped teaching, and that's when we got married in 2005. And so I wanted a job that I could do with kids at home and kind of be flexible. Sure. So I stopped teaching after my first was born, and I got my real estate license when my second was born, which was in 2007. And I kind of worked very little. You know, I'd sell 2 or 3 houses. My goal in real estate was just to make what a teacher made, but then be able to stay home and raise my kids.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of how that, got started. And so, I've been doing it, a little over 18 years now. And so it's kind of just turned into something I really never expected.
It has to be much bigger than you thought. It is much bigger than you thought. So tell us about Allie Beth. I read a little bit about that company. A lot of folks who may be listening, if they're not in the Dallas market, they don't know about a unique thing about her, and she's still very active running the business. Is it true that she got started selling her first house to the famous Tom Landry and his wife? Yes. I thought that was an interesting kind of footnote about her life, about how it started. So tell us about that real estate company and your involvement there.
Yeah. So, when I first got my license, I started off with Keller Williams. And at that time, Allie Beth was a good, strong brand, very much a luxury brand. I would call a boutique type brand. But I was with Keller Williams for a couple years. And then I just kind of started realizing, in the Dallas market, some of the top companies, some of the boutique firms, luxury brands were kind of, that's probably where I would potentially be connected to people to get more business. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of great brokers out there, but I'd say 3 or 4 really, take over the whole market here in like Dallas, Park Cities, Preston Hollow, East Dallas. And so I just realized I wanted to connect myself with a broker that was like a luxury brand, also one of the top in Dallas. And so I switched over, and one of the things that made me pick Allie Beth was, first off, Allie Beth, is from a small town. She also graduated from TCU, so I related a lot to her in that respect. She also is just her personality and just kind of who she is as a woman. I mean, she's a woman of faith. She, we have a lot of similar values, and I just wanted to work for somebody. I feel like when I work for a brand or something I believe in, I can sell it, even better. And so,
for sure.
So I just switched over to Allie Beth around 2010. And like I said, have pretty much been there minus 2 years of a move over to Dave Perry Miller. But it's very much a small, it feels like a small town kind of brand, everybody, it's like a family at Allie Beth. Everybody knows each other. We've all been there a long time. We've been through life challenges and changes together, and it's just a huge family. And I feel like that's really special to find in a big city like Dallas, to kind of find that small town feel. And so that's one thing I love about Allie Beth. And
It
I
just
think
so
that just is a reflection of her.
well,
She
yeah,
is.
and that is rare, especially in a selling industry, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
it's very
Mm-hmm.
competitive. There's
Mm-hmm.
who's ahead, who's not. I mean, there's all that, and to get that
Mm-hmm.
family, and that probably comes from her faith, who she
Yeah.
is, her strength of character,
Yes.
in that. And so you've been with them. Your primary role is still a realtor. I mean, are you in any kind of operations role there?
So I'm not, but I do have my own team.
Okay.
So there's a total of 8 of us. That includes me. So 7 other girls that are realtors that
Okay.
work under me, like 2 girls that are assistants, and then 5 other girls that are salespeople. One of the assistants does sell, the other just kind of is strictly an assistant. And
Okay.
so for the most part, no, I'm not in a role at Allie Beth per se. I just got my own team. And
Yeah.
so I've kind of partnered with each of these ladies to kind of help guide them through real estate. I've had girls, be partners with me, and then they've decided I want to go out on my own and all that. So
Yeah, that's great.
it's like a mentorship pretty much, but also partnership. So
Yeah, and if anybody uses the word girls to describe your team, it won't be me. I just want to be
No.
clear on that. So
Okay.
you go
Ladies,
ahead.
I should have said.
You go
Anyway.
ahead and call them your girls.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's great, and I think it's got to be something about working with Allie Beth, who you interact with all the time. Y'all show houses together and list houses together. So that's got to mean a lot for you. I'm just curious, as you're talking, I got to think that getting into this level of sales and what you do in that business, how is that? You have 4 boys, right? And they're teenagers. How do you think they view the work their mom does on a regular basis? I mean, you're a very active mom as well, obviously, and go to all the things they're doing. But how is it translate into how you're even mentoring and raising them in light of your success, in light of the strength of what you do?
I think it's one of those things I just kind of ask God to guide me, on a daily basis. I will say my husband has his own business as well. He bought a pool company, years back, and he has an MBA from SMU, undergrad from SMU. And so he wanted to kind of have a good work-life balance. He was in corporate finance before, didn't have that. We both kind of said, let's choose to, make less money, but do what's probably best long-term. And so he kind of stopped our world and went and bought this business.
Wow.
And we didn't know what God was going to do in his business or mine. Back then we just wanted work-life balance. We want our family to be together and just all the things. So when we took a big pay cut, but we just kind of believed that this was the right thing. And so he did that. And I will say in my business, because he has his own business, he is such a behind the scenes person that there's absolutely no way I could do this without somebody like him, to be there for me and with the boys. I mean, so perfect example, weekends, I might do 3 or 4 open houses on a Saturday, and he takes our boys to go play basketball at the Y, for 3 or 4 hours. And so, I mean, to say, there's so many people behind the scenes that make all this work, from the assistants to obviously my husband, to the painters, to the landscapers, to all the people that I'm able to call, and they show up and they do their job and do a great job. And so it's definitely, my boys see us, and they see how hard we work and work together and tag team it. And, but for the most part, at the end of the day, I mean, in the evenings, I'm at home, we're having dinner, we're together. Also on Sundays, I really do this has probably been about 5 years ago. I kind of did the Chick-fil-A thing and was like, I'm going to not work on Sundays. I'm not going to do any more open houses on Sundays. So I just kind of said, Lord, you're going to provide what you want for me, and whatever that looks like, I'm happy with, because I've lived with less and I've lived with more. And at the end of the day, I'm still me, and it doesn't matter kind of what comes. If it comes and goes, it's fine. But so, and really, as I look back, and I kind of forget this, but that's kind of when my business has kind of taken off even more. I mean, kind of like the Chick-fil-A line, it never stops.
It never stops.
They're closed on Sunday.
Good.
So I didn't really do that for anything other than just saying, God created the world in, 7 days, and he took that day to rest. And just, he showed us that. So I said, you know what, because real estate is definitely a business you can go 24/7 on. And so it's really hard to find the balance.
Yeah, I just got off the call. I do sales training for a mortgage company here. And so I'm talking not to realtors, but to the mortgage salespeople. And I can just sense in those conversations, yes, they're inundated all the time. There's always something to work for. So I think you're right. That's a great principle of just saying, someone once said that the reason God rested and demonstrated that on that seventh day, he paused, that he knew if he didn't show us that we would work 7 days. 365. And a lot of people still do. So I just want to encourage you and others that are listening. Our kids are 35 and 33. And I think they watched that me, particularly in my careers that I've done, is that they're jobs, but they're really not the main thing, right? So we have to demonstrate those boys, your faith are the main issues. And yet you also model, but when we're working hard, right? We're focused. And then I think the kids get to see a good balance view of that. So that's great. I appreciate that. Speaking of family, I thought for those listening, it's helpful that you, Susie, are a niece to some of our dear friends, Brenda and Carrie Hobbs. So Brenda Hobbs in Waco, who passed away years ago, is your mom's sister. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it must be her older sister, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so my life is better off having friends like the Hobbs, Cindy, Angie, all of them, and Carrie is one of my dad's best friends. And your life is better off. You spend a lot of time in the same places I was at, but we were just laughing a while ago. I'm a decade ahead of you. So when you were at the Hobbs house, where hundreds of people gathered. I was older. I didn't notice you probably. So I was older doing my thing with teenagers, but it's really cool, that little connection we have. And recently, tell me about this little side note here, but you were at the Museum of the Bible 2 years ago
That's
in
right.
DC.
Yes.
You and Lydia met each other, talked a little bit. And Cindy Janeka Hobbs is, Hobbs Janeka is a really big advocate for Museum of the Bible. So that's what was your experience there? I'm just curious. Like, what did you think of that place?
It honestly, it just blows your mind away. Just all the details of just how they have put it together. That family,
Oh yeah.
it's just overwhelming. Like it was just so incredible. I love their virtual reality to go see what the Holy Lands look like. That was one of the fun. Just so much, all Bible based. Just such an incredible, truly a life-changing experience.
It was.
Not only the women too that I got to meet. I met women from Florida. I met women from all over the world, and we just bonded like sisters. And it was a really special time. There's literally one of them that she made a commitment to send us a scripture every day, and literally every day. So this is going on almost 2 years. Or 2 years, just at 2 years, she sends us a scripture, our group, every single day. And so,
just on text, she just texts
people,
out every day. And I'm like you, when I walk through there, and I didn't attend the conference necessarily, but I did some of the tours. It's like you just kind of everywhere you turn, you go, oh, look at that. Oh, wow. And the history that you learn. Now they have the Dead Sea Scrolls there and all that. So anyway, that was a great event there. So let me kind of, it's a whiplash here, but let's go back to business for a second. And you sell houses. That's what you do, right? And you and I were laughing because the day I called you, you said you just listed the most expensive house you've ever listed. I think it was 25 million.
Yes.
So
25 million.
Take us, now I'm a Waco boy. We don't have $25 million houses. So tell me, just from a standpoint of, in your job as selling that, leading people through it, what's that? What's the process of working with clients who are buying at that level? Because there's got to be some unique things about it.
Well, so it was, so the builders of the home, the wife was a Kappa pledge sister of mine. And so we, had a longstanding friendship, and she's kind of been watching me over the years in real estate, social media. I put, from my very start, I would just post real estate stuff when I would sell and buy and all the things. And so she just reached out and she said, Susie, I have been really impressed with what you're doing. And she goes, I've been watching you for a while. I see how your business is growing. And she was like, you have never, listed a $25 million house. And I said, no, you're absolutely right. She goes, I would love if you would partner with Allie Beth. And if y'all could do this deal together, then you've got the listing. And so basically I set a meeting with Allie Beth. And I said, Allie Beth, I have this opportunity to list this house on Straight Lane. And I told her, my background with my pledge sister and everything. And I said, she's, admitted that, she said, Susie, you haven't sold anything. And I said, you're absolutely right. And she goes, but if you and Allie Beth can get on board, then if you can get her on board, then it's your listing. And so I said, Allie Beth, would you help me list this property? Would you like to co-list it with me? And she said, Susie, I would be honored to co-list that property with you.
That's great.
And so we got, it's just getting all the marketing pieces, photos, everything together. And we had a wonderful open house, about 200 people that came through, music. We invited neighbors, we invited Allie Beth's clients, some of my clients, friends, family. It was just really spectacular. And that was just a really fun time to see and meet lots of people, neighbors and people that kind of came around, other agents came through. So it was a really fun thing. And so, I'd say a property like this is different in a lot of ways compared to the others, but it's also similar too. We typically will market. We've got social media marketing, we've got paper marketing. It's in newspapers, it's in magazines. We blast it out pretty much everywhere we can to just get the word out. So many buyers are coming from out of state now, especially we've got people from California, Chicago. People are really coming from everywhere. The Y'all Street is
Dallas is growing so much. So they're bringing in companies from all over, right?
So many financial companies are coming. We've got Y'all Street about to happen. It's just, so we're getting a big influx of people. And to be honest, I know this may sound crazy, but that $25 million price point is a real sweet spot for our market, to be honest.
Wow.
Is it really?
Is it really?
Yeah, it really
great.
is. There's not a ton of great product that are, especially brand new construction. Some of the other properties, while they might be beautiful, they might need, years to 2 years worth of renovations for what people want today.
Well, this one's move-in ready. It's like
moving ready.
It's moving ready.
Yeah.
So let's go back to just the sales process. I want to ask you about one thing. Just affirm me in this. I think what I want people to hear is that you didn't get lucky one day and just get a phone call. This was laboring for many, many years of branding, of establishing who you are, not just with Allie Beth, but you as an individual. You get content out there. I follow you on LinkedIn. I see what you're doing. And so your friend didn't just call because they're a friend. They call because they got other friends they could call, right? This person knows other people. They're looking at you professionally saying, I not only trust her as a person, I trust her in the branding of that she's doing. So everybody's listening needs to hear that I was just told the other day, they said, you need to be creating content and exposure tied to what you do so that people begin to notice that if I'm going to do business, I want to do it with that person. That really is what happened. It sounds like in your case.
Exactly. 100%.
But at the end of the day, the selling process, even though it's a $25 million property, would you say that some of the components of when you get that great prospect and you've had maybe a dozen or less that have come through, and I'm sure they have to be vetted. Not anybody can do the full tour, but at the end of the day, the selling process is still the same, isn't it? As you're walking, people are people.
Pretty much. It's a new construction home, so it's a new construction, contract and all the things. So it's very similar to, smaller scale homes. And it's, just negotiations and things like that, all very similar to what we do with every contract. Yeah. So
you haven't closed it yet, have you? You closed it?
Not yet. We've had a good amount of showings. Like I said, everyone's been vetted. I'd say we've had a total of probably 10 to 12 showings, about half off market and half on the market. So it's been, and sometimes when people see it off, when I say off market, it was when it wasn't finished. So we showed it, half of the time not finished, which is always kind of hard. People can't really grasp that. So I think it's always really best to put it on. But, we've got, like I said, we've got people that need houses and they need houses quick. They've got to move here for a job or whatever. So we wanted to have that open if somebody did come along and make it an option for them.
That's good. Well, I hope it closes. That'd be incredible deal. I don't think I'll be buying, but I know this one's out there. So let's talk about your career, and I want to talk about in this show. I want to see what are people's playbooks, like what's gone really well. What are those things that you do as a sales leader, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's working with high-end individuals? Tell us a little bit about the mindset of Susie in terms of selling and leading your team. What would be some high points?
So I would say, my motto for my team and I tell them this a lot, and I have to remind myself of this a lot, is man's rejection is God's protection. So I tell them this because, we can go out and we can hope that, this was a couple weeks ago, I went and was up against two other people for a $7 million lot listing per se, because the house needed a lot of renovation. So it was like a $7 million lot for sale in Highland Park or University Park. And so, I found out the next day that they went with one of the other people, which is fine, but I had to go back to that. Man's rejection is God's protection. I would say, I remind them that we can't sell all the houses. We want to encourage other ages, be happy for their wins, be sad for their losses. I think, one of my realtor friends, I've always seen her on social media, just encouraging other agents. And these are agents that are also, her competition, but she just continues to, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to be that person. And that was years ago that I saw her doing that. And so, that's my main motto, so that because there's deals that you get and there's deals that you don't get, and so just keeping our focus on Lord, whatever you have for me, bring it. Whatever you don't have, I'm okay with, and truly believing that. And just honestly, like I said, when I first started real estate, I just wanted to make what a teacher made, which was at that time, $40,000 a year. We had absolutely no idea what God was going to do ever in my business. I never could have imagined this. And it's been like you said earlier, this has been I've been doing this 18 and a half years, it's taken time. And a lot of people, I think, oh, I want my business to be successful in a year. It's a grind. It's starting and just building upon it, slow and steady. Yeah. My dad used to tell me that in track meets, Susie, go slow and steady, because I would do the long distance more. And anyway, but that's so much with real estate. It just takes time. And so that's what I encourage the girls on my team. They get frustrated. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. Once again, man's rejection is God's protection. Go out, keep trying over and over. And open houses, all the things.
Yeah. And it sounds like what you've done over years said, I've got practices I'm going to do every day, right? I'm assuming we're going to show houses, we're going to find new listings, we're going to market, we're going to do all that. And you didn't have it sounded like you started and went, I want to make millions of dollars. You didn't start with that. No. You were I want to build something that's a lifestyle business. I think that's probably what you're, a lifestyle business. I got little kids. I want to be involved in their life. And so it's just neat how God's probably, even to your point, I love that phrase, that he has protected you from some problems that maybe could have arisen. We say in our sales training, we talk about how prospects are qualifying or considering us, but we have to qualify prospects. And sometimes there's a time you go, that's not a good deal. And that's kind of God protecting us from those. So when you think about the selling process and what you've done over the years, what's a strength of yours? And I think you've described some of that, but if people were to describe you as a real estate agent and said, well, how would they describe you? You can boast a little bit if you want.
Well, I feel like over the years, I've heard my clients say this, and I do believe it's true. Maybe it's my undergrad that's sociology with a minor in social work. So my soul and my core is I love to help people. Yeah. And so I've heard one of my clients one time told me, I think she wrote it on Facebook or something, I sold something or said something about Susie. And she was like, Susie worked so hard for me on a lease. You would have thought I was buying a $50 million house or something. So at the end of the day, I think in my soul, I just like to do what's right. I've always been a little girl, wanted to do what was right. I became a Christian early on when I was about 8 years old. And I remember getting baptized, and I remember telling people my skin is different. I feel my skin. I knew I was something different at that time. But I think I've always just been a rule follower. And so in a lot of ways, when I see something's wrong and someone's not being right, I want to fight for them. So even if it's a $50,000 condo or whatever, or a $5 million house, it's still the same thing, same principle. I want to fight for what's right and get them what I know they need, in a respectful way, not in a wrong way, and not in a, not playing by the rules way. But, anyway, so I think that's just kind of how God made me. And, I always was I started working when I was 14. I've always liked to work and make my own money. My brothers would take loans from me because I worked at this little ice cream shop,
Come
and they were all
on.
like,
They really
we're not
did
going to
that?
go work for $3.85 an hour. And I was like, well, I will. And so they would borrow money from me and I'd have them sign a promissory note and I'd charge them interest. So,
And when you were in high school, like junior high school.
that was in 14. So I think I was in 8th grade, at that time. But
fun.
So I've just always loved to work, and it's just, I don't know, like I feel like I've found completely the right fit for me. Like I love teaching, but I feel like real estate is challenging. It's analytical. It's all the things that I love most, and it's people, and I love people.
It's so fascinating when you hear these kind of stories. There was a guy in Waco that he would sell drinks at the Baylor games, and that people made a little money doing that, right? Well, he had that kind of mindset to go, there's another way. So then he would go by, he would pick up all the plastic cups people left, rinse them out, and then after the games would sell them as commemorative cups because you don't have all the stuff on, because people would leave those cups. And it was like, it was crazy. Like no one told him to do that. And so his brain has always worked that way. It sounds like that's you, where you're like, whether it's a competitive drive, want to help people, you must be a curious person. He goes, well, I could do this, I could do that. So was that, do you think embedded in you by your parents, or is that just something God just kind of put in you? Like that's just how you are?
Well, I think I grew up with a lot of family members who were entrepreneurs. So my grandfather Keaton, he was in his own business. So when my parents divorced in high school, my mom and I and one of my brothers lived with my grandparents. And so I got to go back in his office, see him making calls to, that he would call like, Taiwan.
Yeah,
and so, he'd be talking real loud and, this is Frank Keaton from Texas, and everything. And so so my grandfather had that. My parents had a restaurant growing up. They had daycare centers that they ran. My grandmother on my dad's side had a daycare center. I mean, so my grandfather on my dad's side, he had he manufactured airplane parts. Okay. So he had a big manufacturing.
Wow.
So I grew up, really everything I saw around me was entrepreneurs. And honestly, my dad never was like, girls are meant to do anything. He was like, do whatever you want to do. Like he never, right. He saw women, his mom working and being a businesswoman. And so I think just growing up around a lot of people in their own business, it didn't scare me per se. Yes. And so,
this is a great lesson, by the way. I mean, because men and women both have this opportunity that what they're modeling to their kids. And even as now I have grandchildren, I'm modeling something for them. We all model something. We display something. And if we're going to be image bearers of God, then whether it's helping, whether it's working hard, use agricultural language, tilling the field, like all the work we do does send a message to generations behind us. So I love this. I mean, you that story going back to 14 all the way to now, you're telling your children who will tell their children, hey, mom loved life. She loved the Lord. She loved people, and she worked hard. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. And I think the simplicity of just wanting to help your customers. I'm seeing that more and more in sales, where people get off track of thinking, it's the tactical thing of how much money can I make? What's the commission? As opposed to just saying they need to sell a house. I want to help them do that, right? Whatever that means. And my goal is to help them sell the house for the most amount of money, get to their next house. That seems almost. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but there's a lot of simplicity to it, right?
No, I agree. And one of my favorite things that Allie Beth says, and it is so true, is she said, when you put the people first, the money will come. Yeah. But if you put the money first, it won't come. And I think that's so important, even with the girls in my team and even how we do business with other agents. I just kind of say, just put the people first. I mean, if it's over a percentage or whatever, just put them first and really, don't fret over the money.
Absolutely.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's really good money. I mean, I think about when I was a teacher and I would work a whole entire year for $40,000 a year. Yeah. And, in Dallas, there's houses we can sell and make that, which is just like, it's just crazy. And so I just try and tell my girls, put the people first and the money will come, and focus on that. Help people. If your clients just bought a house and a year later they need to sell because they had a job change or whatever, like help them out, if you
Yes.
can, work on that percentage if you can, all the things. And
Yeah, it's
so
so
and there's
good.
been times where I feel like client to client, I've had to do that if I've known, money's tied, or this is a widow friend that's about to list her house and
Yes.
I need to give her a break.
I love that. No, I think that's important. I heard someone say one time, kind of what Allie Beth said in a different way, but that we love people and we use things. And when we get that reversed, it messes up everything. When you start
Yeah.
loving your things, stuff,
Yeah.
your tools, whatever, and then you start using people, it distorts the whole deal. So clearly you've had a lot of success, and and I know everybody right now is doing the math, thinking if she sells a $25 million now, which is interesting because I'm sure there's a lot of negotiations that goes into that. But but you've had, so that's great success if all that works out. But you've had to have some in the last 18 and a half years, some moments where you've had to bounce back in some way.
Where I've had what?
Maybe you've had to bounce back from a challenge
Oh,
or
yeah.
a shortfall, resilient. You seem like a resilient person, no doubt, by your stories. What was that like when maybe you thought, this isn't going like I want it, or and maybe it's more personal than business, but anything that you think of?
Yeah. So last year, my year didn't start off as good as I wanted it. So my last January, February, March wasn't as strong as it was this in 2026.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the year, I was kind of like, what's going on? I mean, this is not my year hasn't started off as it normally did. And my mom also was sick at the time. And so she ended up passing away last April 7th.
Really?
And so after she passed away, I kind of thought to myself, I was like, you know what? Like I looked back and I said, Lord, you basically, you were going before me to give me this time to be with my mom. And it was like right after April, then my business took off, for the rest of the year.
Wow.
And I ended up having, a fantastic year, but it kind of started after that first quarter, which, I thought what was going on, but God was just working on my behalf to provide that time with her that I wouldn't, ever get back. And so sometimes when there are those things that happen, you kind of just have to, you may not understand it now, but there's could be potentially be some good in it. And, sometimes when business slows down, I try to remember, okay, this is the time I can kind of catch up on things, maybe organize my closet, maybe, do the things that I can't do when I am busy. And so,
no, that's good. That's good.
Think of it that way, which, like I said, I'm grateful God did that at that time.
I've heard people describe sometime when they're going through grief, they're going through their parents get older and sick and things are happening. I've heard people say that, caring for my parents or caring for a child who's sick is a sacred privilege. And I think when you craft it that way, you say it's a sacred privilege. And then you look ahead and go, I'm just going to trust that God's still caring for our family. It doesn't mean that the business is going to be great or not, but it just means that there's these moments you pause. And I think of your cousin Cindy and the book she wrote about Brenda and Brenda's tragic end of her life. I think Cindy would say the same, that it was a sacred privilege, the whole family would, of walking through that journey. And then it's like, when they pass, especially in death, it just opens up. It's like this, you just kind of go, okay, now what? And it sounds like starting April 8th, you were like, okay, now what? And then you invest in that. And so you're not naive to think that you won't have other moments like that, right?
For sure.
And that. So what are you most excited about when you think about the coming next few years? I always like to think about the year after next. So the next 3 years, when it comes to business, what do you get up every day and think, I'm excited about that for business?
I mean, I think it's been a fun ride, Just like, I remember 7 or 8 years back, I was at 5 million, and now, being at 50 million, annually, it's just like, I never would have dreamed it, but when I was at 5, I would make my goals, like I would write my goals down to be like maybe at 10. And then when I was at 10, I would put my goals to be maybe at 20. And, so it's been a steady and slow and steady pace. But I think what I'm most excited about is being able to list Straight Lane and the opportunities of what that could bring, with some of the higher end luxury homes would be fun. But at the same time too, like it's once again, it's just about people. Like once I had a client that reached out and she's like, Susie, I saw you sold that, $2 million house. Do you sell $300,000 houses? And I said, oh my goodness. Yes, of course. I mean, I want to help you and your family. Like while I love, and that sounds exciting, I never want to lose the, helping everybody kind of thing. That's really the most important to me, because it's all special. And I am grateful that people choose me. There's a lot of people they can pick from in Dallas. Obviously it's a big city. So when people give me the opportunity to help them, it's an honor. And but I would be excited to see how Straight Lane would get me some really fun, big listings, and ways to market them would be fun too.
Yeah, that would be exciting. I'm sure you think about this, like with every increase that God allows us to have in life, blesses us with, then I think we have a stewardship responsibility to say, okay, this is great, but don't let it go to my head. Like, don't let it, let it consume me. And I think you're really foundationally, who you are in your relationship to God, and how Christ has saved you. So it allows you to receive those blessings and then go, now how do I extend that out? So I appreciate you in that. So that's really great. Let me ask you this, kind of final before we go. You were describing the firm, the company, and your team. And as I mentioned, you mentioned the girls that work for you, the ladies that work for you. That's great. Yes. So speak to, if you would, maybe some of the women now who are listening, maybe young girls who are raising, or maybe could be listening. What do you want to encourage them? I know you have 4 boys, so you didn't raise you're not raising little girls, but you were one, and now you're doing this. What would you say to women who are trying to figure out and navigate life and work and kids? What would be something you want to encourage them with?
I think it's one of those things where life can bring lots of challenges, curveballs, a lot of unanswered questions, like, why is this difficult thing happening to me? I don't deserve it. I've done what God's asked of me. Why am I going through these hard things? And sometimes we're not going to know all the answers to everything. But just keeping your foundation on Him and on Christ, and just praying, like, God, show me what you want me to do. Close a door if you don't want it, open a door. And I think going back as far as I can, it's been the whole foundation of my life. I've had ups and downs, easy things, hard things. And so I would say that's the most important thing, is just to stay grounded in that. And like I said, while my business is great now, if it stops tomorrow, like, I'm still me, I still have the faith I have. Won't ever lose, because I've got that, but I do think God has given certain girls and women gifts and talents to use for His glory. And so it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think it's important for us to find out what those things are and to do it. And sometimes it might bring, money, sometimes it may not. But I think when you're doing something that you absolutely love and are made for, I think you just kind of have an inner peace and a joy that it brings. And so that's good. Like I said, my mom and dad never acted like I couldn't be anything or do anything. But I definitely think it's, like I said, having my husband who's there to partner with me, having the right person to do this business with is a big part of the game, so I love that. I'm able to do this because I do have his support and his help, because it is a lot with 4 kids and running this business. 4 teenage boys. Your life, your life is full. I was telling you, I'm the 4th of 4 boys, so it's full life. And here's my takeaway, just so to affirm you and for anybody that's listening, I feel like I'm talking to somebody who, first and foremost, identity is in who they are in Christ and your love for the Lord. So we start with that as a foundation, and then beyond that, then whatever that turns into. So if you sell a $25 billion house tomorrow, or you decide to leave Allie Beth tomorrow and do something totally different, right? I'm going to meet the same person. And I think that is a key thing in life. Sometimes when our identity is attached to our job, to our money, to our possessions, to our reputation, it starts to vacillate different ways, as opposed to saying, I've got to have this internal strength
that comes from God, and then my identity is rooted in Him. And so a lot of people listening today may not have any connection to the Lord. They may be hearing us talking about, maybe surprised we're talking about our faith and work. But for you and I, we don't know how to separate them. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how to do that. And the people I work with. And so even though conversations can change. So thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing that with us. And I do hope you sell the house. I think it'd be great. I looked at the pictures. By the way, I just want to tell people, you just posted you sold a house. I just saw it a day or two ago. And I thought to myself, oh, well, that's a house. That's just a nice house that looks like it was remodeled. You know, it was just a house that I see in Waco and everything else. So just so if people are wondering, yes, if you want to buy a house in Dallas, call Susie. Wherever you want to buy it, she can set you up and do that. So thank you so much, Susie, for the conversation. I loved it. And now I'll have to call Cindy and Carrie and have them come on and talk about their books. So that'll be, that should be the next thing.
Absolutely.
I know.
They're up next.
They should be up next. Thank you again, Susie. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
I think we're off. Thanks again, Susie. This was fun. This is good. Talk to you later. Your Playbook is powered by Sandler, a global provider of sales and leadership methodology backed by data-driven solutions designed for measurable, continued success. Check out Sandler.com. And a big shout out to Rogue Media Network.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.